Hey, it's Baz, filmmaker, dad, and the guy behind 20 Minute Gamer. With the recent announcement of a brand new Tomb Raider game, it feels like the perfect excuse to dive back into some of the older titles and see how they actually hold up in 2025. I was debating which one to play when I spotted Underworld on Steam for a really good price. And this is one of the games that I knew absolutely nothing about. I'd never played it before, I'd never really seen footage, and I had no idea whether it was leaning more towards the original PS1 trilogy, which I've got very fond memories of, or whether it followed more in the footsteps of Legend and Anniversary. So I went in completely blind, which is kind of perfect for this channel. So let's see if it holds up to my 20-minute challenge. Story. Underworld opens with a bang, quite literally. You're thrown straight into a short but dramatic cutscene where Croft Manor explodes, and within moments you're escaping through the burning wreckage. Almost immediately, things take a sharp turn when characters that you assume are allies suddenly start firing at Lara. That alone is enough to grab your attention. From there, the game jumps back in time via a flashback, placing Lara in the Mediterranean, who is searching for what appears to be Atlantis, or at least some kind of ancient submerged civilization. I actually think this structure works really well. The high impact opening doesn't overstay its welcome, and within just a few minutes you're already in the flashback, exploring and slowly piecing together how on earth things went so wrong back at the manor. There's nothing wildly original or award-winning going on here, but it does give you a solid mystery and a reason to keep playing, mainly to find out how Lara ends up being hunted by her own allies. And honestly, that's enough for a first 20 minutes. Score, 6 out of 10. Controls. I tried playing Underworld using both keyboard and mouse and a gamepad, and overall the core movement actually feels quite familiar, especially if like me you grew up playing Tomb Raider 2. Traversal is expanded with things like a grappling hook, which is genuinely fun to use, and underwater swimming, which is a major part of the opening level, feels far smoother than I remember it being in the older games. That said, this is where things start to fall apart a little bit. The camera is easily the biggest issue I had. It auto-rotates constantly, while also allowing manual control on the right stick, and I found myself fighting it more often than working with it. It's awkward, frustrating, and regularly pulled me out of the experience. On top of that, I ran into several glitches in my short playthrough. Early on, there's a door that you need to pull open during the manor escape, but because I was standing slightly too close, it didn't register properly, and I had to restart. On the second attempt, Lara somehow got stuck on the door itself and refused to move without a lot of awkward shuffling. Whether that's down to modern hardware or the game itself, I don't know, but either way, it absolutely interrupted the flow and made an already fiddly control scheme feel even worse. Score, 4 out of 10. Atmosphere. This is where Underworld started to really win me over. Once you're past the manor and dropped into the Mediterranean, the game suddenly feels much closer to the classic Tomb Raider atmosphere, especially Tomb Raider 2, which again, I've already covered on this channel. Diving into the water and realizing just how vast the underwater area is immediately sparked that old sense of exploration. The dimly lit tombs, echoing chambers, dripping water, and general sense of isolation all work really well. I also appreciated the lack of an intrusive UI. There aren't constant prompts or glowing markers telling you where to go. You're mostly left alone to explore, and it does wonders for the immersion. Despite the frustration earlier on, once I settled into this section, the atmosphere genuinely pulled me in. Score, 7 out of 10. Music and sound. One of the first things that stood out to me when playing through this was the music. It's big, bold, and unapologetically epic. Full orchestral arrangements, choral elements, and that very late 90s, early 2000s action movie vibe. And honestly, it works brilliantly. Exploring underwater ruins while that score swells in the background really sells you the idea that you're on some grand globe-trotting adventure. The voice acting is solid. It's a little cheesy at times, but in a very Tomb Raider way. And the ambient sound design does a lot of heavy lifting. Water effects, echoes, distant rumbles, it all helps sell the fantasy of being a lone explorer, poking around places you probably shouldn't be. This is one game where I'm definitely going to be looking up the soundtrack afterwards. Score, 8 out of 10. Graphics and style. This is where I was genuinely surprised. Underworld is creeping up on 20 years old, and I really didn't know what to expect, but visually it holds up far better than I anticipated. The fire effects during the manor escape look great, reflections on the Mediterranean are impressive, and once you dive underwater, things really shine. There's a strong draw distance, high quality textures, schools of fish, and a murky lighting system that still looks fantastic, especially when using Lara's torch in the darker areas. The underwater section even reminded me of the Deep from Tomb Raider 2, one of my favourite levels from that game, but on a much grander scale. Lara herself, with her exaggerated curvy proportions, looks a little bit cartoony now, but the environments are doing the real work here. Honestly, I wouldn't bat an eyelid if some of these underwater sections appeared in a modern release. For its time, this must have been incredible. Score, 9 out of 10. Gameplay. If you've played a Tomb Raider game before, you'll feel right at home. The Upland Manor escape acts as a light tutorial, and very quickly you're dropped into the Mediterranean, where the focus shifts almost entirely to exploration. You're not told where to go, you just dive down, you find a puzzle, you solve it, unlock new areas, and slowly piece together how everything's connected. That sense of discovery is refreshing, especially compared to modern games that love to paint everything yellow and hold your hand with markers. That said, some puzzles are made unnecessarily frustrating by the controls. At one point you have to pick up heavy blocks and put them onto scales to open a door, and although Lara looks like she's struggling and that they're quite heavy, when I put them down they bounced around the room like balloons, and I had to go back and forward and picking them up and putting them down again, and it did just break the immersion a little bit. I had to repeat that puzzle far more often than I should have had to. Outside of that, it's very much classic Tomb Raider. Platforming, light combat, environmental puzzles. The grappling hook is a nice addition, but beyond that, nothing here feels particularly revolutionary, especially when compared to Tomb Raider 2, which came out almost a decade earlier. It's solid, familiar gameplay, but it's not something that alone is going to hook you. Score, 6 out of 10. The standout moment for me in my 20 minutes was standing on the boat in the Mediterranean looking around, and then realising that the game was simply waiting for me to jump in. The moment I did, this huge underwater world opened up beneath me, and that childlike sense of discovery came rushing back. It genuinely reminded me of exploring games for the first time as a kid, with no idea what I was going to find next. That moment alone did a lot of heavy lifting and left an impression on me, definitely. Final verdict, is this worth 20 minutes? If you can get past the janky controls, the awkward camera, and dated mechanics, then Tomb Raider Underworld is actually a really solid entry point into the series. The atmosphere is strong, the environments still look really fantastic, the music is epic, and there's enough mystery and exploration in those first 20 minutes to make you want to press on and keep going. It's not here to reinvent Tomb Raider, but if you're in the mood for some classic exploration, minimal handholding, and a surprisingly beautiful underwater world, I'd say it's absolutely worth your time. And honestly, I'm quite surprised I've never actually played this one before. Final score, 7 out of 10. Are you a fan of Tomb Raider, and have you ever played Tomb Raider Underworld? Did the controls bother you as much as they did me? And where do you think this sits compared to Legend, Anniversary, or the original trilogy? Let me know in the comments. If you're anything like me, you don't have hours and hours to sink into every game, and that's what this channel's all about, seeing whether a game can hook you in just the first 20 minutes. If you like this one, please do give me a subscribe, it really helps the channel. I'll see you on the next one.
Clearly similar to early Germanic design, but this is far older than the 5th century, yet, strangely enough, more sophisticated. Proto-Norse runes. Let's see. World of Mist. That would be Niflheim, the realm of the dead. Not Avalon exactly, but the Norse equivalent.